Everybody. I'm Jamie Cairns from Fluent Commerce, and I'm joined here today by Paul Williams from Commerce Tools. We're going to talk about MACH technology. MACH as a phrase is something that some of you will be familiar with, some of you won't. Paul, can you give us an introduction to what is MACH and why MACH for commerce?
Sure, Jamie, thanks. Yeah, and looking forward to sort of continuing this conversation. But in a word, it's really about agility and how organizations are fundamentally being challenged these days with the world of digital commerce that has fundamentally shifted in the last few years, and even more so in 2020 with the COVID. And basically it's how a response to how organizations needing to change that have been leveraging technology that just hasn't enabled them to do that. And you know, things like the behavior in the digital space and the multiple touch points that consumers are having today that is constantly evolving and constantly challenging organizations to keep up to date with and keep up to speed with. And so what it is basically a response to that. And some examples is forced isolation has now driven consumers to buy online in a much more rapid way than what previously would have been available. And even simple things like groceries that people go to store for are now having to shift to either curbside delivery or home delivery in ways that weren't previously thought of, I guess. But taking a quick step back, what does MACH mean? Well, it's fundamentally, we're in technology, it's an acronym, of course, and it stands for the key concepts that make a modern commerce stack. And it doesn't necessarily have to apply to commerce, but this is the industry that we're in, and this is really the response to enabling businesses. But M's really around microservices and how technology now needs to be broken down into those composable pieces. We like to use the term composable commerce, but it's about how an organization can string together and build out their business logic in a much more isolated way without having to lift and shift a great big monolithic platform. A is for API first, is that everything that we deliver and build should really be able to be consumed via an API so that it can interact with those multiple different touch points that consumers and businesses are needing to use in order to reach their end people. C is for cloud native, and that's about leveraging the technology that is available from the hyperscalers and the cloud technologies that are available that enables us to scale in much greater ways, not just on an X and Y axis, but on a Z axis. And that's leveraging scalability across different kind of consumer groups or across different regions and geographies. And finally, H is around headless, which is a relatively new term, but headless is around basically enabling the technology to be consumed by any particular touch point, device, desktop, mobile, whatever it happens to be, shouldn't affect the way the back-end technology actually operates. And so we use the term headless to basically, I guess, indicate that the platform can be modified and changed without affecting what is actually consuming that, whether it be a storefront, whether it be a website. And those sort of key kind of considerations is what really basically enables the MACH approach to technology. And organizations are looking to adapt to moving those ways today. And we need to ensure that the decisions they make around those are able to be done so that parts of their business can operate independently and free them from those previous applications or technology decisions that were preventing them from doing that. And platforms like Fluent Commerce and Commerce Tools, we're really spearheading that evolution in the digital technology and making sure we're providing that flexibility, speed and agility to organizations as they try to adapt to this new world that we're in.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the organizations that had prioritized their own control and flexibility and agility way before we ever knew what COVID was are the ones that have been able to thrive through tumultuous times. So I think they'll be the ones that continue to set themselves apart.
Absolutely.
So we're keeping it short and sharp today, but there's more to come from our conversations. So everyone on the line, come back, join us for part 2. We can talk about other aspects of the commerce architecture where Mac is important. Things like real-time inventory and availability, how customer service can keep in touch with your customers as efficiently as possible. How retailers and direct-to-consumer brands can really improve their efficiency. So thanks very much for listening. Thanks, Paul, for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Pleasure. Thanks, everyone.